Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we've got a real quick one for you. We're going to tease you on how our Boffix training works. So we've done a little section of what our Boffix training looks like. Now the training we provide is all about trying to make sure that you get the most out of QuickBooks. Hopefully you can see that from here. We've got a little snippet of how the new banking screen is working and how that new banking screen can help you. Now if this is of interest to you, stay around till the end and we will show you exactly how to make sure that you get the best out of QuickBooks from Boffix training. Have a look. Cheers all. Now the banking screen is so important in QuickBooks. It's one of those areas where you get to add elements to QuickBooks really nice and quickly, really nice and simply. And it means that you then get the option to put that transactions in there. And it's really important for us to be able to understand exactly how that works and exactly how we can interact with the banking screen. So first of all, the banking screen itself is hidden in the banking section. And under there, you jump into banking. And you'll be presented with this screen. Now, to get to this screen, we're in a sample company again. And we've added data into QuickBooks. So what we've done is we've already imitated actually bringing that account in. And to do that, you'll use that link account button at the top there. So basically, normally what will appear there is your ability to add your bank account. It depends what bank account you add, depends on what steps you've got to go through to be able to make sure everything's working as intended. But effectively, what it's all about is making sure that you add that bank account so the data starts feeding into QuickBooks. And it's really important we get to that point because that's going to stop you from making mistakes, from error messages and errors within the bank and everything else that goes with it. And it means you can start relying on the data in QuickBooks more often. Also, the more data you feed into QuickBooks, the more it starts to learn things and understand things and starts to figure out what's going on. So I really do urge everyone to think about putting data into QuickBooks. You're going to find it easier for you going forward. So once you've got that bank data connected, you've got that bank data in, it's all about then trying to understand what's in front of us. And one of the key things, if I just zoom right in here, is about understanding these two little elements here. Now, these are called our bank cards, and our bank cards are all about designing or understanding and figuring out what information relates to the bank. So here we've got the opportunity to look at the bank balance, the in QuickBook balance, and we get to look at the bank balance and in QuickBook balance here as well. So the idea is whichever bank card is highlighted in blue is the bank card we're going to be using now, and that bank is the one we're interacting with below. There's so much information here that's really important. The first one is how much money is in our bank balance. So that's a live bank feed connected to your bank, and it's telling you how much is sat in there now. So I'm going to tell you when it was last updated. So that date's important because it shows you how up to date the information is. And then it's going to tell you how much is already in QuickBooks. Now, the idea or the way you can look at this in a really simplistic view is that if the two are the same, that's a real good confidence boost to say that everything's been included. If I had minus £3,210 bank balance here and minus £3,210 in QuickBooks there, that's going to give me a real good confidence boost to say that everything's been included and I'm at the right figure. Now, the most important number out of all of them, though, is this number just here. And if you learn nothing else from QuickBooks and from this training sessions today, please take away this one little bit of information. This number here represents how many transactions QuickBooks is aware of but hasn't yet dealt with. The way that QuickBooks deals with a bank connection is as soon as it hears about the connection or about the transaction, should I say, then that transaction is put into QuickBooks and it's put into like a holding area. We call it the for review area. And the idea of the for review area is that it's the transactions that QuickBooks are aware of, but we haven't done anything with, and they haven't gone into QuickBooks. Therefore, if you have transactions with that number there, those are transactions that haven't gone into QuickBooks. So if you're going to run a VAT return or run a profit and loss account or do a set of accounts, or if you need to do something with that data in QuickBooks, then if you still have numbers outstanding that relate to your period that you're dealing with, then they're not going to be included. And it's really important that you get to grips on that one. If you see that 8 there, then you won't have 8 transactions included in whatever you're going to do. So keep an eye on that. Have a think about that and make sure that that's exactly as it's intended to be. What our job is then, and you'll notice there's 8 here, and down below is there's 3 little sections: for review, categorized, and excluded. Now, our idea or our test or our job, if you like, is to move the items from for review to either categorized or to excluded. So we're going to either move them from review to categorized, or we're going to move them from review to excluded. There are 2 options. We're going to do it to either of them. Now, the easiest one is excluded. Excluded means you don't want that transaction in QuickBooks. So if you move from for review to excluded, you're saying you don't want that transaction in QuickBooks anymore. So that's a simple one. It's really easy to understand. And that can happen because maybe you've duplicated data, maybe you've got a reason. There's various reasons why that could happen. But basically, if it goes from for review to excluded, you don't want that transaction in there. Now, other options that we do is we go for review to categorize. And if we go for review to categorize, we're basically saying we want that transaction to be in QuickBooks. Now, if that's your thing and that's what you want to do, you then have to think about 2 different situations. Either that transaction already exists in QuickBooks and you want to match it, or that transaction doesn't exist in QuickBooks and you want to add it. So let's look at the matching idea first and why that could be relevant. So if I scroll down here, you will notice that on the right-hand side here, or in this category or match, there's one item here that says 1 record found. And if I click into that transaction, when I say click into anything in QuickBooks, I mean on the bank section, I mean the coffee place, the description, you'll notice how it expands. And when it expands, it's giving you more information. It's giving you more ways you can deal with the transaction. So in this case, it's telling me that my expense of £20.50 here, we found that match. So remember how I had an expense in for Starbucks, and now I've basically come to look at my bank account. Well, because I've added the transaction in and it's appeared on my bank account, it's going to give me the option to match it. And if I click into the expense from here, you'll see that transaction we did together, that 29 of the 5th Starbucks transaction. There's a transaction we've put in there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate screen. And duplicate tab is a really quick and easy way to have 2 different screens. If you're working on 2 different screens, or in my case, you want to go back and forth between one area of QuickBooks and another, duplicate screens are a really quick and easy way to do that. So now I can go back to that transaction, and I'm going to do what it's asking me to do. Basically, QuickBooks is now aware that that transaction's happened in the bank account, or in my case, the credit card account, and it's given me the option to match it against a transaction that's already in QuickBooks. And because it's matched it against transaction in QuickBooks, look what happens. This number here is going to change for us because we're going to have dealt with one of the transactions. And this number here won't be changing because it's already in QuickBooks. So we don't expect that to change. So as soon as I press match, I'm now down to 7 transactions to go. So I've now, if you count the number here, there's 7 left. And if I jump from for review to categorized, I can now see that the coffee place transaction is now sat there as categorized. It's dealt with that transaction. It's now in QuickBooks for me. So I click on expense, meal and entertainment. You'll notice that now I'm back to that same transaction we just looked at. And in fact, because I duplicated, I can go back and forth. So that's the transaction it was, that's the transaction it is now. And there's only one small key difference. If I jump between the 2, some of the more observed of you will spot it straight away. But basically, keep your eye on this section up here. As I go between the 2, so before, after, notice the after now has one extra section that says 1 online banking map. Basically, there's now a stamp on that transaction to say that transaction now appears in QuickBooks Online. So that's a real good indication that this transaction is something we can trust. This is a transaction that has appeared in the bank account and it's had a stamp on it to say it's happened in the bank account. And when you've matched it, you're not duplicating it, you're not double counting it. You're putting a stamp on a transaction that's already in QuickBooks to say you found it And here it is in QuickBooks Online. So that's matching transactions. It's a really key area, really, in understanding the banking. And there you have it, a nice little look at how our training platform works. Now, one of the key things you didn't see there, though, is what happens at the end. At the end of the training session, what we give you the opportunity is the opportunity to come backstage and actually ask any question you may have within QuickBooks. Remember, I'm an Intuit certified trainer. Therefore, most of the answers out there, I should be able to get my hands on one way or another. And we invite you backstage so that you can then share screens with us, show us exactly what your issues are, and you can put in anything you need to make sure that we've got it absolutely spot on. So why not give our training a go? Links are going to be below on exactly how to do it. Also, for every person who's watching this and got this far, if you send a message, hello@boffix.com, with the word Boffix Tax Tips VIP included in the subject title, then what we'll do is we'll make sure that you will be entitled to 50% off our training platform. Special for you for getting this far. The training session itself goes through far more than just the bank account. The bank account is the most important bit within QuickBooks. That's why I've shown you a little snippet of it, but there's still more to learn. So do make sure that you give us a go and come along to our training to find out the rest. My name's been Aaron Patrick. It's been a pleasure to do this video for you. I do hope to see you on some of the training sessions coming up in the future. And for now, I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.
I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts, I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. All the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah. You know I want him, nah, 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 nah. My heart is saying yeah, 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 yeah.